I did not go out trying to murder everyone. I actually went out trying to help everyone. Well, it's finally happened. I have started Baldur's Gate 3. And these are my reactions. This is going to be a vlog series where I tell you all the insane things that have happened since I started playing Baldur's Gate 3. And thus far, as you will tell in just a little bit, this is insane. Baldur's Gate 3 is not my typical type of game. You would think it's my typical type of game because it's very story-oriented. It's RPG. But let me tell you, I have a hang-up because it's a PC game, and I'm not a PC gamer. But I'm also a fan of Games of the Year, and it won so many Game of the Year awards that I had to give it a shot. And a friend of mine purchased the game for me, and so I was like, okay, well, let's freaking go. And this is where it is. Now, I'd played a little bit of the demo, the 2-hour on PlayStation Plus thing, and I'll be honest with you, I was pretty unimpressed with the game. But it's pretty standard at the front. The basic gameplay sort of things, I kind of got the hang a little bit of that. But ultimately, after 2 hours, it just wasn't enough. And so I have eagerly jumped in to give it another shot, willing to say I might have been wrong about this game. And I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I am enjoying my experience with the game, but my verdict right now is like, I'm not sure if I like this game. But I am enjoying my experience with the game. Okay, so let's just go ahead and get into it. This is what's happened thus far. First and foremost, I need to introduce you to my character. As is the case in all of the games that I play, at least since you can create your own avatar, this particular character is my guy. He's loading right now. Okay, there he is. Here he is right here. His name is Cecillock. Now, you may be wondering, how did I come across that name? Well, it is an amalgamation of two of my favorite Final Fantasy characters, Cecil, or Cecil, from Final Fantasy IV, and Locke from Final Fantasy VI. Cecil, Paladin, Locke, Thief. And both of those things do come into play in this particular playthrough. Anyway, you can notice him. He is dashing. He has a beautiful beard, and he has just the best blue eyes that any unsuspecting victim could get lost in. And yep, look how similar we look. I just shaved my beard, but still, that's pretty close. Anyway, this is Cecillock. This is my guy. I choose this guy in Final Fantasy XIV. I choose him in World of Warcraft. He is my ride or die, but his adventure this time is different from anything I've ever experienced. Okay, so let's get to the actual game. So you start the game in a ship, and in the ship, there are, things that it's pretty standard, right? You're trying to break out of an imprisonment, and you're getting through the place. Now, it's important to note that I'm also playing with a real-life friend. We are doing split screen. So, the way that this game does split screen, by the way, is really funny. You are both main characters, but it's not necessarily that, like, I may be the host of the game, but my friend has just as much agency as I do. I've never played a game like this before. Usually, player 2 gets to do their thing, but it really kind of bows down to what player 1 is doing. That's the first thing to kind of understand. So he and I are going through this ship, and we're trying to break out. We find a woman that's in a capsule. She's screaming. She's like, hey, let me out of here. And we're like, we don't know how to let you out of here. She's like, that button over there. And we're like, the button doesn't work. And we're like literally moving around this place, trying to figure out how in the world to get her out. It doesn't quite work for us. And so we're going room to room. Eventually we find a rune or something, and then we press a button and she's free. Her name is Shadowheart. My friend spoke to her first. His name is going to be Ansel from now on, because that's the name that he chose, okay? So Ansel he speaks to Shadowheart, and Shadowheart just adores Ansel. She hates me. Every time I try to speak to her, she's like, I don't have time for you, or it's not a good time, or maybe, later we can talk, or something like that. Just doesn't quite work between us. Anyway, we pick up Shadowheart and we go walking a little bit further. We go journeying through this place with Shadowheart. She's kind of helpful, but we don't know how to play this game. And so we're getting hung up on things like movement and like actions, and apparently doing anything, like thinking the wrong way takes up an action. I don't know. But like, it's like, okay, well, that was your move. Sorry, but you can like jump over here or something. I don't really understand it all. I turned on tutorials, but I haven't found them to be particularly helpful. Anyway, we're kind of getting through it. We go a little bit further and we find a green girl. I think her name is Lazelle. I want to call her Lizzo, but that's just because her name is Lazelle or something. I don't know. Anyway, the green girl is not in a pleasant mood at all. And she says, we got to get off this ship. And we're like, we know. And she's like, no, you got to come with me. And we're like, well, better to go together. So anyway, we now have these two people that are joining with us in journeying. Again, Ansel spoke to her first, and she will have nothing to do with me. So anyway, Ansel has two friends, and I have none. And we're going through the ship. There's all these little, like, octopus-faced people that want to kill us. They also inserted tadpoles into our eyes. I don't know what that means, but it does mean we have some kind of telepathic connection with one another. Again, I'm not really sure what that means, but we got to get these tadpoles out of our eyes. So we go to the end of the ship. We also found a brain. I befriended the brain. He's a walking brain. He died shortly thereafter, but he's not with us anymore. We get to the end of the ship, and there's like these demons. They're like fighting the octopus faces, and it's back and forth. We run past all of that and flip a switch, and at that point, a cutscene triggers, and the plane crashes. The ship crashes, and we wake up on a beach. And it's me, and it's Ansel, our dead brain friend, and Shadowheart. Green Girl is nowhere to be found. So we pick up Shadowheart, who still does not want to speak to me, and we go journeying. We journey for a little bit, and then I, not Ansel, find a purple circle. And so I went up to it, and I pressed the button to interact with it. And as soon as I do, like my hand, it recoils because it's painful. And then we hear somebody say, help me. And a hand comes out of this purple portal. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to help him. So I pull him out, and it's a guy named Gale, and he's a wizard guy. And he's like, hello, fancy seeing you here. And we're like, who are you? We do this like formality sort of thing. Long story short, he wants to join us. And I'm like, well, I need a friend, so you get to come with me now. And so Ansel has Shadowheart, I have Gale, and we go journeying just a little bit further. I stumble across an abandoned chapel, or I think it's abandoned, and I begin to hear some dialogue. So I'm like, let me see what's over there. Again, I don't know what to do in this game. So literally any point of interest, I'm like, let me go see what's up there. And usually there's something that's up there. So to this game's credit, I'm like, hey, there's always something going on somewhere. Follow the curiosity. So I did. There's these two guys. A little guy, I want to call him a gnome, but I don't know what he is. He was a little guy and a big guy, and they're both talking. They seem to be heated, but I don't listen well. I'm used to RPGs where you can just go up and talk to people. Not in this game. You walk up to these two guys, and they're like, game on. They grab their weapons. They want to kill me. And so fortunately, Gale and I are like ready for fighting. Ansel and Shadowheart slowly join us while we're in the thick of battle. It's here that we begin to learn a little bit about the mechanics of the game. And there is this large structure above our heads that it's like a crane, and it's got a rope with a rock that's connected just underneath it. And I have a bright idea. Okay, like there's a devil wizard woman that's shooting from around the crane, and we're like, we got to get up there to attack her, but like also we need to set some like traps or something. So I was like, hey, there's a rope that's suspending this rock, and just underneath it, it looks like the ground's a little shaky. So Gale, you're up. You can shoot fireballs. And he's like, indeed I can. So he shoots a fireball up at the rope. It does burn the rope. The rock falls from above, and it breaks through the ground. And I think that Gale may have had a toenail in the hitbox of that, because it drags him into the netherworld with the freaking rock. And so then the camera shifts and you see Gale. There's a band of thieves or bandits or something that are down there, and they're like, oh gosh, there's a guy. And they proceed to shoot him with arrows until he dies. Well, he downs. Okay. In this game, there's two forms of getting killed or something. You go down and then you go dead. You get 3 rounds of rolling some dice to figure out if you're dead, or just mostly dead. All that to say, they shoot him, he fails 3 consecutive rolls and dies. I don't know if I can revive him. I don't know anything about this game. And the tutorials have not super been helpful to me, but maybe I'm just like jumping the gun. Maybe it's like that tutorial comes 10 hours in and I'm just really advanced. I don't know, but Gale is not doing well. We clear out, Ansel, Shadowheart, and I clear out the top portion, and we're like, well, we got to go save Gale because I've heard that there's permadeath. So we go into this dungeon, we loot somebody, get a key, then we go into this dungeon door, and we make our way down, and wouldn't you know it, it's multiple rooms with all of these bandits that killed our friend. We died the first time, and then we went back to the last autosave, which the most recent one was the moment that Gale died, which is the least convenient autosave that could have happened. The more recent was back on the ship, and I was like, so much has happened, I'm not going back to the ship. So we went through this dungeon again after killing everybody up top after Gale died, and then go back into the dungeon, and we found this really interesting mechanic of shutting a door where you've got the group of bandits in one room and we're in the back room. And so we run up there and we see that there's a lever that'll shut the door and lock the door. So we shut the door, lock the door, because they had broken in the first time we shut the door. We learned to lock it. And we let the bandits in one by one and just like went off on the single player enemy, while the rest of them just, effortlessly shot doors without success. So eventually, we kill all of the single fighters, and all that's left are archers. So we open the door. Ansel and Shadowheart go in to take care of them, and I'm like, I think I can get to Gale and maybe revive him while we're taking care of these bandits. And so that's what happens. Shadowheart and Ansel are taking on all the bandits, and I'm not really sneaking, I'm just trying to move. My movement box just does not go very far. So like 4 turns later, I get to Gale's body, and I apparently get too close because I get necrosis, I think, poison or something. His dead body has started to stink. That's how long he's been dead. So when it's my turn again, I used an action like opening a door or something, and so I couldn't like help him right then. But after like 17 more people fought, then I got to throw a scroll of revivify or something at him. And he came back to life as though nothing ever happened. He has 1 HP, but it was like, welcome back to the land of the living. He's like, you're a real one. I was like, that's why we're friends. And Shadowheart still hates me. I'm so glad you're here. So we went into the other room, and Gale proved his worth at this point. He was able to put all of these bandits to sleep, and then I went up and Ansel went up, and we just killed them in their sleep. And it was like, what a pleasant story. Like, we saved our friend, and we did good in the world. Well, as we were looking around this room, we found some interesting religious tomes that my guy was inspired by. I don't know what that means, but we were inspired. And then we went to to this other door that led us to what looked like the catacombs, like the basement of Catholic churches. When we get to these catacombs, there's nobody in there, which I'm thankful for, because all of us have been dying. We have not rested, short or long, which is apparently a thing. We go down here, and I'm like, this is kind of nice. Let's just do some tomb raiding. And there's traps all in the room that we can disarm. I don't really get into all that. I just found a button. So I pushed the button, and that was the worst thing to do, because everything that was dead in the room then came to life. And because we had spent, at this point, hours learning to fight, we did beat them, shockingly. We did not die. But our health was really, really low. So anyway, we kill everybody in the room, and then I find this sarcophagus. And I open the sarcophagus, and that's when I met this guy. Let me actually go to this guy right now, because again, he's also a real one, because I talked to him first, and that's the way that things work in this game. So we're gonna go through our campsite. You can kind of see me. Oh, there's we'll get to this disaster in a minute. He's a problem. Now here's Gale. Oh, wrong side. There, nope, I am terrible with cameras. Gale, right there. We love him. Yeah, okay. Anyway, that's my friend. And here is the fellow that came out of the sarcophagus. Right here. Let's see if I can just make myself smaller for the purpose of showing off Sweet Withers, as he is called. Withers, is a no-nonsense kind of guy, I came to find out, but he's also dead, or kind of dead. Anyway, he knows a lot of stuff, past, present, and future, and he keeps telling me that we're going to see each other again. And then he showed up at my camp. I didn't realize that he would follow us there, but we did see each other again. He went on about some things that I didn't really understand, but then he said, oh yeah, here's something fun. I have the power to bring dead people back to life. And I was like, that is actually amazing. And what a journey that turned out to be, because we found him at the tail end of our quest to save our good friend Gale, who we were afraid would die. So that actually had some nice kind of like full circle sort of moment for us. I loved that. So Withers, again, we really loved Withers. So we left Withers, and then we started walking around again. And that was, we again don't know where we're going at any given point, but we stumble upon a village. And it's a village, well, I say it's a village. It's the outskirts of a village that's being overrun by, I think, goblins and their dogs. And the goblins and their dogs are like at the gates, and they're like, let us in. And the people are like, no, we're gonna kill you. And so we side with the people. I don't know why we side with the people, but the goblins are like invading a town. And so we're like, we're not about that. So we jump into action and slaughter the goblins. And they're like, hey, y'all are actually pretty cool. There's a guy named Will, Wyll, because it's a fantasy game. And he like saved us several times. He's like, you guys are so good. Like, come on into our town. And this is so great. So we did when all the goblins were dead. And we have come into the middle of like political debate in this town, because it's a town of this group of red demon looking people called tieflings. I think that I'm saying that right. Anyway, the tieflings are not happy with a group called the druids. Now, Ansel is a druid. That's important to know for later. The tieflings are like really upset, because it's like, we got these druids and they like have a different idea than us, and like we're also about to be attacked by like green people like Lazael. And so like there's just a lot going on here, and we're just passing through trying to get tadpoles out of our eyes, and they're like fix all of our problems. And so I say to Ansel, hey, you deal with this. I remember from the demo that we missed somebody, because I remembered finding Astarion somewhere, and I was like, I kind of liked that guy. Oh boy, that was a mistake. But I turned around and I went to the beach, and so I grabbed Gale and we went on a journey while my friend Ansel did druid stuff with the druids and the tieflings. I found Astarion. Not a lot to talk about there. He tried to kill us, and then I was like, no, we're all cool. And so he joined us. We've got tadpoles in our eyes. You've got a tadpole in your eye. Let's all find a solution together because, we're better together. Astarion goes back to my camp. Gale joins me back at the Druid village, where Ansel has now really gotten into the politics of everything. I don't even know what's going on. I just know that we've either got to help the people escape their town and leave because they're about to be attacked, or we need to go and find a prisoner of war named Halsin. And Halsin has been taken by the green people. I want to call them orcs, but I don't think that's what they're called. They've taken him anyway. Lae'zel's people. So I was like, okay, well, we don't even know where Lae'zel is at this point. We go in a little bit further into the town, and we meet a shopkeeper. Now, listen, this shopkeeper was awesome. His name is Aaron. He's the first shopkeeper I found in this game, and I had a lot of stuff to sell, and he was happy to buy it off of me. And I got new weapons and new armor, and it was so cool. He was the first person that was nice to us. And so, that was a big moment for me personally, because usually I have to coerce people into liking me through persuasion and dice. So I bought new armor, and then I went to, there was a child. I need to bring this up. There's a little red child that was like, mocking me or something. Anyway, they ran away from me, and I was like, well, where'd the kid go? So I ran after the kid, found a children's hideout, and so I go into the children's hideout there, and they're like, this child that's kind of grunting and whimpering. I was like, is your parents okay? Like, are you in danger? She just grunted, and then there was another child that came up in their hideout, and they were like, what are you doing here? And I was like, I'm helping a child. And they're like, you don't belong here. This is just for us. And I think my response was, we're just like checking things out or something like that. And so they're like, I'm going to give you to the count of 10. And, but they also had some things in there that I kind of wanted to look at. So I looked around, and she's like 10, 9, 8, and we get all the way to 0. And then she runs away. So I was like, well, all's well that ends well. So I leave. And I did take a cup or something that I found in their treasure trove. So I left. And, then, it was about this time that Ansel had gone down into the Druid area, and in the Druid area, there was a child that had done something to a ritual, and had broken the sacred laws. And to my recollection, Ansel helped them decide not to kill the child or punish the child because it's a child. And but again, I don't know all the ins and outs of that. I just know that they saved the child, and Ansel had something to do with it. After he came from this council, and I had returned from, the children's hideout, an equally important side quest, we reconvened, and we remembered that Ansel, a druid, can speak to animals. And it was here that we began to talk to oxen and a little bluebird, but most importantly, a little squirrel named Timber. And this squirrel had an attitude from the get-go, and I watched it happen. I'm playing my game, but then I screen watched a moment just to see what Ansel was doing. And I don't know how it escalated, but I heard the squirrel get snarky, and the next thing I knew, Ansel kicked that squirrel, drop-kicked him into a tree, and it was like gore, like blood and gore. None of the battles that we have fought compared to the death of Timber the squirrel, rest in peace. But also, you deserved it and had it coming. Anyway, he killed the squirrel, and I decided that I was going to go on a little venture outside of town, and Ansel was going to continue with the politics of the druids because he's all in it, and I can't even speak to the animals that he's trying to align with. So I leave, and wouldn't you know it, I find our green friend, and she's encaged. And I was like, oh, okay, so she has a tadpole in her head, and what that, oh God, what a sentence. She tells me through the tadpole telepathy, send these guards away and free me. And I was like, through my tadpole telepathy, okay. So I used my persuasion and dice to tell the people around her to leave, and they did. And so then I got her down by sending Gale, having Gale shoot a fireball at the bottom of her cage, and she just landed really nicely. She's got great fall damage, I guess. But she was like, "We got to get these tadpoles out of our heads," and I was like, "We're also on that quest, as we talked about on the ship." And she said, "We have a green people." Orc healer that would definitely do this well. And I was like, well, okay, we got some stuff going on with the druids and the reds, so we need to we'll be back. So go to camp and I'll deal with you later. I return and I can't find Ansel. So I instead find a man that runs up to me and says, "Have you been talking to my children and threatening them?" And I was like, "No, I haven't been threatening your kids." And he's got like a spear drawn ready to run me through. And I was like, no, your kids are cool. And like persuasion and dice roll. And he was like, "You're right, they are cool, and you're also cool. So we'll let this be our warning," he said. I was like, "Okay, all's well that ends well." I go into a little room and I find another red, what is it called? Tiefling. I find a tiefling, and he says to me, well, they're having a debate over whether or not they should go and save Halson or leave, as apparently a druid, maybe woman named Kaga. Kaga wants everyone to leave the village for safety, and the tieflings want everybody to stay because it's their land or home. And so I came to find out Ansel had talked to Kaga, and that was their whole deal of like, we've got to get these people out of here. And I talked to this other guy, and he was like, we've got to get these people to stay, and we've got to go find Halson. So when we reconvene, as we're talking, kind of catching each other up on, hey, this is what I did, this is what you did, Ansel decides to steal something. Which is never advised, and we don't love that. But he steals something, and he's caught. And the person is like, "Hey, we're going to fight, or you're going to go to jail." And so we fought. He failed a persuasion check. That's what it was. And a fight broke out. Now, we thought that this might be a one-on-one fight, but 20 villagers turned on us at this point. And Ansel and I died very quickly. We were all moving, and we died. And Shadowheart is on the run. Astarion, meanwhile, who is in our party at this point, he's not really in the fight, but he's sneaking away and trying to get, like, I'm controlling Astarion, and he is leaving. Meanwhile, Shadowheart is trying to flee, but then she gets surrounded and has like 1 HP, and they take her as like a prisoner of war. She's not the one that stole. That's important to know. But justice must be paid. So Shadowheart to jail she goes. So from jail, Shadowheart has the option of breaking out of jail. She's not able to because she doesn't have any thieves' tools, and we can't figure out any way to get out of there. But I was like, okay, no, Astarion, he's a good thief, so we need to bring him. And so I go and I've got Astarion, and I am on my way back into the town. And everybody must be like, oh, Astarion, he's cool, and everybody else is dead or in jail, so come on. So Astarion goes in to town, and he goes into the prison, and I'm controlling. And when Astarion is there, he loots the prisoners and evidence chests and gives Shadowheart the thieves' tools. And then he runs, there's a little green prisoner, Gethyanki, I think. The orc girl. She's a prisoner, and Astarion gets into a conversation with the people that are like talking to this green girl prisoner, and they're like, we're gonna kill her, and he's like, no, you shouldn't do that. And they decide not to. And then she talks to Astarion and is like, hey, there's a healer with a tadpole. Like, if you've got something in your eye, we can totally help. We've got a great healer where I come from. And as Astarion, I was like, that sounds awesome. Let's go and get healed. I think that's great. Now, she's super aggressive. I don't want it to seem like she's super nice, but it is like, if our main goal and our main quest is to heal our eyes, then we need all the healers we can get, because the druid healer apparently didn't help Ansel very much. Anyway, we'll help you get out, but we got some issues of our own right now. So I've got like some dead people, and I've got a girl in the prison. Shadowheart tries to unlock the door, and when she rolls dice, it fails. And that we don't have any money because we spend it all buying new weapons, and we can't buy new thieves' tools. So it's like, what the crap do we do? Like, it was so frustrating. So I was like, okay, we leave Green Girl. Astarion goes and resurrects both Cecil, me, and Ansel. And okay, so Astarion gets some thieves' tools that we sell literally the farm to buy these 200 gold thieves' tools. And we realized we'd been trying to unlock the door from the inside, or the outside of the cage, but you have to do it from the inside, weirdly, which didn't make a lot of sense to me. So we got some thieves' tools. We made Astarion get arrested, and he went willingly to prison because he's a good thief or something. And so we passed the thieves' tools over to him through the inventory, and then he was able to unlock the thieves' tools. So at that point, Ansel is gone. He's like gone back to the druid. I don't know where he is. He's gone. But Astarion talks to the green girl and is like, I think her name's Sassy or something. He's like, hey, you come with me, and I'm gonna get you out of here, and we're gonna go find your green healer lady. And she's like, sounds good, but in a more aggressive way. So Astarion leaves with her, and we're sneaking. Okay, we're just sneaking, and it's like through the shadows, because the goal is we want to get her out, because we need to get out too, right? Like, we're not like fugitives or anything. I mean, we have broken out of prison at this point, and apparently children hate us. There's a lot happening. So I just kind of leave them for a minute. I swap over to Cecil briefly here, and Cecil overhears a conversation with some tieflings, and they're like, should we stay or should we go now? And they asked my opinion because they don't know me, and they're like, we need an objective opinion here. And I was like, I mean, you should probably stay. And here was my thinking. Halsin needs saving. And so when we take Green Girl back to the green people and meet their healer, maybe we can get Halsin from these orcs and bring Halsin back, and then Halsin will know what to do, and then everybody's going to go home happy. That's what this whole plan was. So I'm like, y'all should definitely stay. It's going to be great. So then I'm swapped back over to Astarion, and we are still sneaking down to kind of the druid area to make an exit. All right, and we get so freaking close. But there's this group of druid summoners that are like enchanting something. And the very last one looks over and says, hey, you're not supposed to be out here, talking to Sassy, and like, we're gonna kill you. And Sassy's like, no, you're not. And Astarion jumps into battle as well. So it's a battle between Sassy, the 9 HP orc, who is good for nothing, and I shouldn't have saved her, I get it. Astarion, who, because he was in prison, also didn't have any armor on, and I didn't realize that in that moment, or weapons, versus this druid that can turn into bears. And it was not pleasant. We start fighting. So while we are fighting, we're like 2 or 3 turns in, because whenever we fight, it does take about 90 minutes to kill anything. We're about 2 or 3 turns in when a cutscene triggers in the middle of this thing, and the village is being attacked. It's being attacked by these green people that we are trying to bring their hostage back to. Like, there was a pathway, an avenue that everyone could have been happy. the orcs get sassy back. The tieflings get Halsin back. The druids can worship their god. I don't really know what they want, but they wanted to kill the child. That's all I know. And they didn't get to do that, and I guess they're angry. There was a way that everybody could have gotten what they wanted. Instead, what happens next is no one gets what they wanted. Because the greens are now attacking, and the tieflings are fighting against the greens. Meanwhile, the druids are very upset with us. And then, so after we kill this one bear, Astarion, Sassy dies at this point. Astarion goes back up to town proper, and as soon as Cecil and Astarion are up there, the tieflings and the druids who are now fighting, they now have two enemies, the orcs and me. And so what happens here is that there are three groups of people, and one group is hated by both people. And so I'm just like fighting everybody. Me, Ansel, Shadowheart, and Astarion. And it gets really out of hand. So I'm going to take us on a journey here, because I think that this is important. I need to show you all what went down. Now, this is the scene of the crime. So this is Ansel, okay? There he is. And there's Shadowheart, and they're just standing on all of this. Like, these are the people that sacrificed their lives in what I call the battle to end all battles, the druids versus the tieflings versus the orcs. Everybody hated us, except for like this one person right over here. This is a woman named Lacrissa. Lacrissa, for some reason, really didn't attack us. I think that we were neutral to her. In fact, if I remember right, we did have a conversation with her. Ansel had a conversation with her, I think, that was like, oh, do you really think that we can win? And he was like, yeah, I think you could win. She was like, let's put a bet on it. And he was like, okay, but hard to, win a bet if you're dead. And she said, oh, I'm good for it. Just lay the gold coins on my corpse. And he was like, okay, you weirdo. So anyway, that ingratiated us to one another, I guess. So maybe that's why she was like, not over my dead body. So, I mean, she did win, clearly. So maybe we owe her 10 gil. Or coins. That's a different game. Here's Roland. He's dead. I don't really know what Roland was about. Maybe he was a blacksmith. Or maybe we crushed his head on that anvil. I don't know. But he's gone forever. Here's, this guy's name is Tusk. Or he's an actual animal that's called a tusk. I don't know. He died. Over here we have Marcoil, and Zevlor. Okay, I did turn in a quest to Zevlor. I don't remember anything about him, but he's gone. Tehan and Loic. It's a bloodbath, people. Everywhere here's a survivor. Her name is Octa. She has 1 health. And she is, I don't know, she's making some comfort food at this point. So then, again, we have Death. That's Tilsies. Dead. Damon, dead. But we can keep going because the death really continues throughout this entire place. Literally everyone. There's no death this way. This is actually a peaceful path. Nope. There's trails of blood. No. So this was a big moment for me. This is a guy. His name was Aaron. He was the first person that was ever nice to me. He is now dead. He sold me all of my goods. It's really unfortunate that he was caught in the crossfire because I was on Aaron's side, but not anymore. So I don't know where I'm going to get my tools. Here's a dead guy. That's Leah. Yeah. I don't know how any of these people died. There used to be oxen here. I guess they're dead too. There's blood literally everywhere. We've got a bear over here that died. Some of them have turned into ghosts at this point. Again, this is just the scene of the crime. I literally don't know what anything is. here. Tuffet, another dead bear. We did loot some of the bodies in the middle of the battle. There's a specific room, though, that I want to take you to, because this is where it really went down. Yeah, there it is. It was in the prison, and you can just see all of the death that took place in here. There's blood and water. There was a woman named... yes, there's Kaga. Kaga was the head of the Druids, or the one that wanted everybody to leave. She was against Zevlor, I think. Zevlor was like, let's let everybody stay. Kaga was like, let's make everybody leave. They both died in the end, really at our hands. So, blood everywhere. It's just a massacre. Yeah, there's another one. That's Guex. I remember he really sucked. I did not like him. Nettie and Tuffet, yeah. Just death. Everyone in this village died except for Aaron, our friend that we made talking about her death, and then the lady that likes to cook. So that's just super great and fun. We somehow made it out alive after all of this. Not without our own pains, though. I mean, we had to go and take a long rest afterwards. We were pretty wiped. But nonetheless, that was that. I want to show you, we left here, and I'm going to go back into the field here. We left there, and we decided, well, that escalated really quickly, and everyone is dead, and everything that we ever loved is now gone. So anyway, Astarion and I are here, and we did go on a little bit of a brief excursion. Oh, I don't want to go that way because I think that they're all going to kill me. But over here, I want to take you back to the Druids briefly, because there was another survivor. And we, Astarion and I were walking by him, and we heard a child. And this child, okay, this was not my proudest moment, but here was my thinking, right? There is a child that is here, and he is, he's going to be an orphan. And so, he like played a small trick on me or something, and then I stole something from him. And then there was another guy that saw it. And who would see it but our old friend Will? And I feel like he must have thought that we had betrayed him, to some degree. Oh, there he is. Yeah, they must have thought that we betrayed him, because he sees us steal from this child and he runs and attacks us. All right. And so we have to beat up Will, and we knock him to 1 HP and make him unconscious. And then when we loot him, we did end up taking his clothes. I did not know that was going to happen, but as you can see, he has not found new clothing. But that's where we are. So it was there that I decided that's enough for a day. And we went to camp. And we said that's it. And so, everybody, I'm going to be real honest with you. I don't know what this game is about. I have no idea. I don't know if I'm playing it the right way, the wrong way, or any way. I don't even know if I'm playing this game. I think it's playing me. I did not go out trying to murder everyone. I actually went out trying to help everyone, but it did not work. And let this be a lesson to us all. Don't try to help everyone, because in the end, you won't help anyone. With that ends the first Baldur's Gate vlog. I don't know where we're going. I may have ruined the entire game. I don't know what this game is, but I know that I've got some tadpoles to get out of my eye. So, do as I didn't, and until next time, walk tall, my friends.